What's going on, everybody? For today's video, we're talking about trucks. We're not talking about big semi-trucks like my dad drives. We're talking about these little trucks that mount onto skateboards. So when you go to your local skate shop and buy a skateboard truck, there's three main components you want to be thinking about. We got the hanger, we got the base plate, and we got the kingpin. So to start off with the hanger, which has got the axle in it, so you want to make sure that the axle is going to match up with your deck. So this truck that I'm holding is a 149 independent truck. This is going to match an 8.5 deck. And every truck company has their own way of sizing their trucks. Let's say I had an 8.0 deck right here, like this Meow skateboard deck. I'm going to want a 139 for my independent trucks, which is going to be this guy right here. And the way you can match it up is basically if you put it onto a counter and you put the truck facing down with the hanger on top of the board, you can kind of measure how that truck lines up, just like that. And be aware that the axle nuts, these little guys on the end of the axle, these little axle nuts, are gonna make a little more extra length on the axle sometimes, unless you take them off. So if you really wanna be precise with it, maybe take off the axle nuts so you know exactly how long that axle is, so it's gonna fit on your board. Because with a longer truck, once your board sits up sideways and you have your truck on there, it's gonna kind of angle a little out like this. So you might even want trucks that are longer than your deck because your wheels are gonna be a little more spaced out. So you have a little more surface to ride on. It's gonna be a little more stable. Or you can get a smaller truck, like say if you had a 129 and you put it on like an 8.5, the board's gonna sit a little farther down this way. It's gonna be angled inward. Although when you do flip tricks and stuff, it's gonna flip a lot easier because it really wants to just turn that way. And it's gonna be lighter as well if you're trying to pop your trick super high. So you have like independent trucks, you got ace trucks, thunder trucks, thief trucks. There's also special things that companies do with trucks. Like let's say for Tensor trucks, Tensor actually makes a mag light. So the mag light truck is actually made out of magnesium, so it's the lightest truck on the market. A lighter truck is going to allow you to pop a lot higher. Whereas, say for Indy, they have their titanium trucks, so these are going to be a little lighter than the regular aluminum trucks. These are the Winkowski Pro model of the independent trucks. You can see they have a hollow kingpin and a hollow axle. It still holds up pretty strong, but just having it hollow allows it to be a little more lighter weight, so you can pop those tricks a little higher, get up more in the air. But the Tensor truck is the lightest you can get. Say for like thieves and like aces, they don't really offer different materials that make up the truck. So if you're thinking about what the makeup of the truck is or what color they can do, that might factor into which company that you choose for your trucks. And that is your hanger on the truck. So the next thing you want to be thinking about when you're buying your truck is the base plate. So the base plate is this bottom piece on the truck. And basically your base plate has a pivot cup in here. So say if we take a skate tool, we can dissect this truck a little bit. So we take the kingpin nut off and you take this hanger off. You can see inside here, we got a pivot cup. So that pivot cup is the main thing that allows your trucks to turn. So if your trucks are kind of squeaky when you're riding them, it might be your pivot cup. So you might want to lube it up a little bit so your hanger moves a little more freely inside that pivot cup and it's not squeaking too much. It could also be the bushings. There's a couple different things that make a truck squeaky, but the main thing is probably going to be the pivot cup in there. And there's also different types of base plates that different companies will offer. Mainly independent, they have a normal base plate like this, where you can see it's a little thicker. And then if you have a different truck, like a forged hollow, the base plate's a little thinner. And they got the hollow kingpin and the hollow axle. And most companies don't really offer a big variety of base plates, but basically this guy is just gonna be bolted onto your board and it's gonna hold your hanger, pivot cups and bushings on there to allow you to turn on your skateboard. And that is your base plate of your truck. And the last piece of your skateboard truck is the kingpin. So the kingpin is the part that attaches the hanger to the base plate. So you might have never really thought about your kingpin. I mean, you know about the kingpin nut because that's tightening and loosening your trucks. But your kingpin is always blocked by these bushings on the truck. So when you're choosing your bushings, say if you usually ride kind of tighter trucks, you might want more of a harder bushing. It actually has a durometer in the bushings just like wheels do. So if you remember from the wheels, a softer wheel has a lower durometer. So like a longboard wheel has more like a 78A, just like these independent bushings right here. You got the super soft 78A. Or as a harder durometer, because the hardness of this bushing is a lot tougher, so you don't have to tighten it down super hard. So yeah, those are your bushings. Those go onto your kingpin. Different truck companies actually have different angles of their kingpin. So like a Thunder truck has more of an angled kingpin, more than other companies actually. And then if you look at an Ace truck, their kingpin is actually more straight up and down. So if you've ever heard of Carver surf skates, basically it's like a skateboard, surfboard type thing. And you get the surfy turns out of it because the kingpin on top of their CX truck is actually straight up and down. So there's no angle on it. And that allows the trucks to turn a lot more. So you can actually bend all the way down into your turn. So if you had zero angle on your kingpin, then it's gonna be super surfy like a Carver. So actually if you had some Ace trucks like this guy, you might have a little more turnability because the kingpin is a little more straight up and down, not as much angle as say a Thunder truck. So if you look at a Thunder truck, the back of the hanger is actually pretty short, and that brings the truck a little lower to the ground. So they make the kingpin a little shorter so you don't scrape that kingpin too much. And when your board's a little lower to the ground, you have a little more push power because your other foot is a little closer to your pushing foot. And you have a little more stability because you have a lower center of gravity on your board. Whereas if you're super up high, it's gonna be a little more wobbly and crazy. Although if you do have this lower truck like a Thunder, and say you wanna ride these like crazy big 60mm Bones wheels, you're gonna need a big riser underneath that base plate so you don't catch that wheel bite on your board. That's why independent trucks have always been the people's favorite for the longest time, because it's that nice middle ground. So it's good to kind of figure out one company that you really like and stick with it in order to not screw up your riding too much. So when you're just starting out, I would keep your trucks a little tighter just so you don't get those crazy speed wobbles. And then eventually, as you progress and get better at tic-tacs and turns and stuff, then you can start loosening them. And that is how you figure out which trucks are right for your skateboard. If you're looking for any more tutorials on how to pick out wheels or maybe do some skateboard tricks, you can always check out my Agwa Academy videos. And definitely like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. I got a bunch of other videos, like my highly hydrated videos, all that good stuff, so stay tuned.